What's going on, everyone? Dalt here with Lacey Parts in the Scrap Life Garage, and we are getting to the meat and potatoes of the R8 build here. While we're waiting on everything to come back from powder coat, we're tying up some of the loose ends. I'm going to be working on the temporary rear bumper bar today. We had Josh fab a little bar. I just need to make the brackets to go onto it because he ran out of time for us to get the car back here. The OEM one is down at Black Cloud Battalion. They are working on the taillights to be retrofitted into it. We knew that it wasn't going to meet our timeline here to get the car going to impact. So we're going to go ahead and do that so that way we have somewhere to mount the taillights to. Alex is up front. He's working on some of the power steering stuff. Him and Lee are going to be diving into the wiring for the lights tomorrow, so that way we get that figured out. And just a couple other miscellaneous little loose ends here. Windshield's going in, so we are going to spend some time on it, get it a couple of steps closer to being ready to go to impact. Yeah, this car's nice because it's missing most of the front end. You can just stand right there. So the mounting bracket here for the temporary rear bumper bar for the R8 is pretty simple and straightforward. We're just going to make kind of a C bracket. It's going to come down, go back through there, utilize those two bolt holes, and will give us some sort of temporary spot that we can mount. Probably the tail lights too also is ultimately where they're going to go. So I have a piece of sheet steel over here. We have it in the vise, which isn't necessarily the best tool for bending, but it should work. Our hammer here, and we're going to see if we can get the bracket made that we need using what we have at our disposal. Alright, so we have these brackets cut, drilled, bolt holes going through them there, so we are ready to go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to trim the ends of the bar here to match that angle, so that way when this thing sits on here it doesn't have, you know, a weird gap there at the end. I got to get Lee and Alex to see. I think we're going to put it basically as far out as we can, so I'll cut as little off as possible on the inside there. I just need to match the angle. So this bar, as well as serving as a, you know, rear bumper for the car, which is technically what it needs to be road legal, it's also going to be where we mount our temporary tail lights. So all I did with this is literally just a trailer light like bracket, and I cut diagonal corner to corner, which worked out really nicely. And this is going to get welded in place just like that. I got to grind this edge down a little bit, but that basically sits right in there like that. This one sits a whole lot nicer, where you can see that that angle worked out just perfect to line everything up there. And again, I'll level it out and everything, but that will be where our tail light goes.
All right, so while we have a little time, while the whole front end's getting powder coated, we're going to solve a couple issues that we have. Luckily, all the coolant issues are solved. The radiator's completely built for this, for everything that we're doing. One of our issues here is a power steering cooler line was damaged in the accident. It was kinked. So, unfortunately, that line runs all the way to the back of the car. This one goes to a banjo fitting on the rack right there, and then the high pressure line goes from there to the pump. This is the return line, and it's one line all the way to the back of the car. I don't want to have to replace that because you have to pull the drive shaft and maybe the front diff out, and it's very involved. Not to mention, the cooler that I'm going to use up here has a Dash 8 fitting on it, so I want to use AN line. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim this back. We're going to trim both of these. We practiced on the other end of it. What we're going to do is we're going to use a brake line flare toolkit. We're going to flare out the fitting to give us a nice bead, and then we will be able to slide the AN line over that and clamp on the other side of it because it's only low pressure, so it won't cause us to have any issues. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut these two lines and we're going to flare them. Alright, so we got both the lines cut. Deburr the edges a little bit, deburr the inside to make sure that there's nothing there. Now we're going to flare them. Alright, so we got them flared. What we ended up doing was, instead of doing the full flare, it's a two-piece part. So you crush it down and make it like mushroom itself, and then you put the flare in and you spin it again and it kind of opens it up and causes the flare. We don't need the flare necessarily, we're more so looking just to make like essentially a bead roll to put the clamp behind, and that way it has something to not slip off of. So what we did is we just did the first step, which actually made it so it turned it into essentially like a bead roll and gave us a nice lip there to slide our hose over. Like so. And then we will put a clamp right here and we will be good to go. As you can see, you can even see it through the hose. There's a real nice bead right there. Put a clamp behind it, we'll be set to go. We're making some more progress on the R8. The powder coat stuff will hopefully be done this weekend, so we can pick that up. So what I went through and did is I painted all the like lighter gray stuff that Audi doesn't paint because it's all covered by carpets and stuff when the car isn't in a skeleton form. So I'm going to show you that. Never in my life did I think that I would be spray painting a underground racing R8, but here we are. And we're spray painting an underground racing R8. So I'm going to show you the front end, and then I'm going to do some of the back end. And we're just about there on all the main things that we need to get done so that when this powder coat comes back, we can slam this thing back together. We have testing to do. We need to run the car. We need to get everything done. I'm going to do the plugs and the oil change tomorrow, so I'll show you guys that as well. And we'll go from there. So I'm going to show you what I've done so far in the front end. Lee's been working on the wiring a lot. We basically have it completely ready to go. As soon as the front end comes back, we'll run everything. We're going to try and put everything inside the cage bars. We're going to drill a couple holes in the bottom, use some fish line, and try and put everything inside the bar so it's super clean and will look really, really nice. So I went ahead and I painted the whole front end of the car here. The battery's out over there. It normally sits right there in the center behind that radiator hose. Everything's just painted a gloss black. All of this was like the epoxy gray. This is where the HVAC box went. So we got this cover panel. It's just a piece of carbon that I ordered online. It turned out really nice. We trimmed the edge a little bit, bolted it there, got rid of all the wires we don't need, tucked them all away. Here is the harness that's ready to go as soon as we get some information. Here's all the headlight stuff for each side, and then the fan here that will wire into our fan that sits on our radiator. That's that V-mount setup that's right there. That cooler will get moved as soon as everything else comes in. The coolers are here. We got some new filters for the turbos, both oil coolers. These are the lights. They're just waiting. Windshield's all in, ready to go. Now we're moving to the back end here. So as you can see, this gray area is what I was talking about painting. So we're gonna go through, I got all this laid off here. I'm gonna tape some stuff up on the bottom here, lay another blanket or so to keep it, and just paint it all black. You can see on this side I did a little bit. Here's what we'll have it end up looking like. You can see all this is kind of black. I gotta move this ECU out of the way, move all this stuff out of the way again. I just did this quickly last night. So we'll finish up this side as well, and we'll go from there. Got my trusty license plate here for block off. A lot of people use cardboard. I don't like cardboard because it sticks to stuff when the paint gets on both ends sometimes. So we have a bunch of scrap license plates from all the cars we do. So I use a license plate, hold it behind the edge, spray against it, and it makes it so you get a lot less overspray on places that are really hard to tape up. Alright, so this first coat I just laid on real thin, get like a nice base coat over top of it. I got to go through and move a little bit more of this so I can get these last couple small spots there. But as you can see, just off the first hit, it changes the look of the car a lot when everything's all black. And so I got to move some of this stuff out of the way. I'll get these little corners. I got to tape this oil cooler up so I don't get overspray on this. I got to paint this little guy also. But we are making a little bit of progress. And we're gonna focus on a couple other parts, then I'll move the blanket and mask all that off. Unfortunately, we don't have time to send this thing to a body shop and let them completely mask everything, and we don't have the time to completely disassemble all the suspension points and all that kind of stuff to make it absolutely perfect. But it should turn out pretty good. It'll look pretty nice. All of this stuff on the side here used to be silver. Painted all that. Door bars will get bolted on, but just getting rid of as much of the gray as we can. And we'll go from there and do the best that we can in the allotted time we have for right now, and then we'll make some changes over the winter. We got a lot of stuff planned of stuff we want to do. Once we get to that point, we'll go from there.
So that should do it for the content about the Audi for this video. We're going to have a whole lot more content for you guys. Be sure to stick around, turn on your notifications, like and subscribe, so that way you can get all the up-to-date information, because we're coming down to the wire on this thing, kind of literally doing the wiring on it. That was, not really a pun that was intended, but my shipping guy Eric will really like that one. So anyways, stay tuned. We're going to be driving this thing soon enough, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun with it.